Welcome everyone. I'm so excited to be presenting on travel physical therapy, travel occupational therapy, and travel healthcare in general. My name is Dr. Emma Shapiro, and I am an experienced physical therapist as well as an experienced traveler. And so I'm excited to share with you this presentation I've made on how to earn six figures as a new graduate with travel healthcare and how to basically get started in travel physical therapy. So I'm going to pull up my presentation and we'll get going. If you have any questions along the way, just feel free to comment in the posts and I'll do my best to try to answer them. Oopsies. Okay. There we go. Okay, perfect. So how to become a travel physical therapist and earn six figures as a new grad and repay your loans in just 1 to 3 years. So who is this Facebook Live video tutorial for? Well, you're in the perfect spot if you want to learn how to repay your student loans. Traveling is really my recommended route for people to try to become debt-free, and it's simply because you are able to grow your career, you are able to experience so many things and build your skill set, and at the same time earn an amazing pay rate, and all of that equals a really easy way to pay off your student debt. Also, if you want adventure, you are watching the right Facebook tutorial. If you want clinical experience and growth, you're in the right spot. As a traveler, you can work in a variety of different settings, you can work a variety of different places nationwide, and that's really going to enable you to have so much more, in my opinion, so much more clinical experience and growth than a lot of other settings can offer. And also, if you've been thinking about traveling, but just have questions or fears and want to ask them, this is where you can do it. So let's get started here. And so what you're going to learn in this lesson here, you're going to learn what is travel, physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, respiratory therapy. There are so many therapies. If I haven't said your therapy, I apologize. There's just a lot of healthcare professionals out there. You are going to learn the advantages of traveling. You are going to learn the exact steps to get your very first travel position. You are going to learn how to travel successfully as a new graduate, and you are going to learn how to pay off your student loans using traveling. So first off, what is travel healthcare? Before I can start, I have to explain what it is. So for those of you watching the replay, if you already know what travel healthcare is, you can skip maybe, 1 or 2 minutes forward into the pros and cons and different things like that. But for those of you that are brand new, maybe still in various schools or just graduating, travel healthcare is essentially where you take assignments at various facilities, and those assignments can be either close to your home or they can be far away from your home. So unlike a permanent position where it's just one location and you're expected to stay there for forever, when you're traveling, you can take a variety of locations, a variety of positions, close to your home or far away from your home. It's very flexible. Travelers are often temporary help. So the reason why travel positions come up is often maybe someone is sick, someone is pregnant, someone is injured, maybe there's a rapid influx of patients, variety of different reasons, but they need help fast. And that's where they look for travelers, because you can find travelers pretty quickly and get them hired very quickly, and they don't have to go through that really long and tedious onboarding process like permanent positions would require. As a traveler, you can be almost any profession. So doctors can be travelers, nurses can be travelers, a physical therapist can be travelers, and assistants as well, OTs and OT assistants, speech therapists, and so many more different positions can be travelers. Really, if there's a profession that I haven't stated, what you can simply do is just do a search and try to see if your profession is out there. I pretty much likely guarantee you it is, because even administrators and computer engineers can get positions as travelers. Now, as a traveler, you can work in almost any setting: acute care, acute rehabilitation, skilled nursing facilities, outpatient facilities, home health facilities, pediatric facilities, schools, variety of different places. I've even seen ads recently for pelvic health or vestibular clinics. So it's really a variety of different places. And people often think that they don't get the choice in the setting, but you have 100% control over what you do as a traveler. And I'll explain how that works in a minute. But as a traveler, if you don't want to work in X setting, you don't have to work in X setting. So you have a lot of control. As a traveler, you're normally working short-term assignments. It's typically around 13 weeks, but I've seen 4-week assignments. I've seen 26-week assignments. It's really, really variable. And you are working assignments nationwide, or potentially nationwide. It's really up to you where you want to work. But you can work in California, and then you could take another assignment way far away in Oregon, or in Wyoming, or in Texas. You can work anywhere you want to. And you don't have to constantly be switching states. You could work several positions in one state, and then when you fatigue from that state, you go on and you move to the next state. And lastly, in the what is travel physical therapy and travel healthcare definition is the fact that as a traveler, you often are getting paid extremely high pay rates. You're often looking at getting paid, around $1,500 to $2,000 a week after taxes as a physical therapist. As a PT, you'll be earning a little bit less. As an OT, you probably earn about this. OT assistants a little bit less as well. Speech therapists about this. And what that equates to after taxes per year or annually is between $78,000 to $104,000. And this is after taxes. So add on about $10,000 or $15,000 to both of those bookend numbers, and that's what you're talking about pre-tax. That's an amazing salary that's pretty much unheard of for any other professional in physical therapy or occupational therapy, unless you're some sort of bigwig administrator. And you can even earn these as a new graduate. That's why I'm just such a huge proponent of traveling, is because finally we all are getting paid what we deserve. Because I don't know about you, but I work my butt off and I love being paid what I deserve. Okay, but a little caveat, I can't guarantee what you're going to get paid. It all varies. So in summary, what is travel healthcare, travel physical therapy, occupational therapy, etc.? It is where you work in a variety of different settings nationwide, and you receive high compensation with the potential for tax-free stipends. And this is open to a variety of different healthcare professions, as well as different professions in general. So now I'm going to move on to why should you travel? The pros of traveling, both from a financial standpoint, as well as from a lifestyle perspective, from a healthcare burnout prevention perspective. And there's a variety of different reasons. So we'll start with first just financial reasons. Reason number one, and probably the reason why most of you are here or most of you have heard of traveling, is just because of the incredibly high pay rate, which we just went over. The fact that travelers can often earn between $1,500 to $2,000 a week after taxes. That is like unheard of for any therapist, at least in my situation. I have not really heard of that in very many situations, especially for new graduates or recent graduates. It often takes people 10 to 15 years to start earning $100,000, or it takes them working 80-hour weeks, or it takes them, becoming a healthcare administrator, or it takes them having a second degree, or it takes them having a residency. And so what's really nice about traveling is you can sort of jump past all of that and get that high pay right away. So in addition to high compensation, travelers are extremely unique in the fact that they also get bonuses, free continuing education, and license reimbursement. So let me go over these and there's more. Let me go over these really quickly. So bonuses, that can be a sign-on bonus, that can be an extension bonus, and that can be a completion bonus. So when you're starting the job, you may get maybe a couple $100. When you're signing on again to start the contract at the same location, you may get a couple $100. Or if you finish a contract, you may get a couple $100. You also potentially may be offered free continuing education units through the company or reimbursement for free continuing education units. You also may get reimbursed for your license. So if you have to go to another state and you take a travel job in another state, you can ask your recruiter and they'll often reimburse you for that license that you needed to get that other travel assignment state license. And these are really nice because, traveling could add up over time with a lot of costs if you didn't have these different costs reimbursed, through traveling. And what's really nice is that, and what's unique about traveling is that often you don't see these in a permanent sector. Like I've never really seen very many positions reimburse me for my license, reimburse me for my CPR, reimburse me for my continuing education. It's rare these days to get these added bonuses. So it's really nice in traveling to have this high pay and also on top of that, get these other little perks. And so another perk is travel and relocation reimbursement. So say you have to go to that next state to work, well, you're going to either fly or you're going to drive and spend money on miles and gas. And so when you do that, the travel companies often will reimburse you for those expenses. You simply give them your receipt, and if that receipt is within a reasonable amount, then they'll reimburse you. It's usually like very, very reasonable, and in fact, it's often like higher. Like, for example, I think when I traveled to New Jersey, I think I got reimbursed for the flight, and but I was able to potentially get reimbursed a couple $100s more. So there is extra leeway. In addition, you can get provided housing or housing stipends. So this gets complicated in this video. I don't really want to talk about tax homes and legal issues and things like that, because that I really save for the tax professionals. And if you have questions about travel taxes, then I really recommend you go to traveltax.com. Joseph Smith is amazing, and he's very, very helpful, and he'll be more than willing to answer any of your questions. But in a nutshell, if you are a traveler, you sometimes have to go away from your home to travel at another assignment. And if you have basically, now you're spending rent on two places, that the government feels, I guess, bad for you. And it allows you to have tax-free stipends to cover the housing for that second location. And so your travel companies will either provide you corporate housing or a stipend. And you can choose that as well. So if you want to save more money, we often recommend that you get the stipend and you find your own housing, maybe through Craigslist, Airbnb, friends and family, relatives. But if you can't find housing, then oftentimes you will be eligible or be able to get corporate housing through your travel agency. But that's another perk. So now we're going to move on to lifestyle benefits and some of the things that I think people often overlook about traveling, especially in this age of healthcare burnout and healthcare fatigue. And so the first really nice lifestyle benefit is that you have a lot of freedom and flexibility. And what I mean by that is there's several points. When you're a traveler, you often have these 13-week assignments. And so if you wanted to, you could take a break after every assignment. So you could work 13 weeks and take a couple weeks off. You could take months off. You could take the whole year off if you wanted. Travel agencies don't care. It doesn't matter to them. And so you could take time off and then take another assignment. And that's extremely nice, because I think one of the big reasons why, as travelers, we have this healthcare burnout is the fact that we just don't get any breaks ever. And so with traveling, you get to have those breaks, you get to have those vacations, you get to have those holidays. And a lot of people don't know, but you can take breaks during the contract too. You just have to tell them in advance, like, I have a wedding to go to, for example, I need these days off. And they will often give you those days off. So you can get days off during your contract as well as outside of the contract. And so that's a nice factor for freedom and flexibility. Freedom and flexibility also pertains to the setting that you choose and the skill sets that you're being used. So, for example, as a traveler, you can work in acute care, and then you could work in a skilled nursing facility, and then you could work in an outpatient clinic. And that is so valuable, especially as a newer graduate, because you are getting to have all these different experiences. And what that does is, one, it builds your skill set, it builds your confidence, it builds your just ability as a healthcare practitioner, and that's amazing. But two, it also builds your like criteria for the perfect job in the future. So, as you're working in all these different jobs, you may realize, oh, I don't like micromanaging. I like a macro manager, or I like a small facility and not a big facility. Those different things. And so that's what's really, really great, is that you can really slowly grow this idea of what you want to have eventually in a permanent position. Another great lifestyle factor is the fact that you get paid to travel the nation. So you can go and you can work in one state and then another state, or work in one city and then another city. And so you're really being able to have adventure. You're really being able to see the sights. And you're essentially getting paid to do this, because they're reimbursing you for the license, they're reimbursing you for the travel, they're reimbursing you for the housing, and they're paying you to work. So you're essentially getting paid to go and see amazing places in the United States. It's pretty cool, from my standpoint at least. And then unbeatable experience. We talked about the flexibility with growing the experience, but not really what that can do for your career and for you in general. When I started out as a traveler, I basically had worked for about 1 year as a PT, and I wasn't really that confident in my skills. And so through traveling, I was really able to experience so many different people, so many different patients, so many different coworkers, so many different other healthcare professions. I was able to improve my communication and just all of these skills, so that like by the time I finished traveling, I felt like I was really good. And obviously I am by far not the best physical therapist out there, but I just felt like my confidence was there. I knew that I could handle whatever was being thrown at me. Like at one point, I was able to transfer a lady that could only weight bear on just her elbow. You know what I mean? And so it's like you build these amazing, amazing skills through traveling and through being sort of tossed in the fire. And that unbeatable experience builds your confidence, builds your, basically your experience for future positions. And it also enables you to have an amazing negotiation standpoint when you turn to permanent positions, or in your future traveling positions, because you can sit there across the table and tell them all the crazy experiences you've had as a traveler, all the different things you've had as a traveler. I mean, oftentimes, many times travelers will be able to be directors as a traveler just because it's needed and get that valuable experience that would be so hard in the permanent sector. And so I just think traveling, it not only is great for financial improvement, but it's also great for just building your career in general and becoming a better healthcare professional. So in summary, some of the reasons why you want to consider traveling would be the high pay rate, bonuses and free continuing education units, license reimbursement. Oh, I have to add in that now companies are providing student loan reimbursement as well, unmatched freedom and flexibility, the ability to get paid to travel the nation, and the ability to really create unbeatable experience. Now, I want to add a caveat here that there really is no such thing as free money. And that's term, I don't know who first came out with it. I definitely didn't coin the phrase. But basically that every reimbursement has to come out of somewhere. So your money as a traveler is one big pot. And from that, these different things. So if you have to have a reimbursement for a license, it's going to come out of this pot. And then reimbursement for travel, that comes out of the pot too. And so, you're getting reimbursed, but it's all coming out of like your total pay. So say you worked one assignment and you made $1,500 a week, but you had all these different reimbursements that came in, that would sort of subtract from that pay. And if you re-signed again and started again at that same assignment, you'd likely then be making like $1,600 a week. And that's because they've taken out a little bit for continuing education or for license reimbursement or for this and that. So I just want to try to be fully transparent and upfront of that. But you have to also think that when you're getting reimbursed for a lot of things, oftentimes that is tax-free or tax deductible. And so once again, I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not going to claim what's tax-free or tax deductible, but you have those tax benefits in there. So yes, it's coming out of your total pay, but it's also less taxable. So you have to weigh the pros and cons. Okay, now I'm going to go into the exact steps and the requirements to get started in travel physical therapy or travel healthcare in general. So let's first go over the requirements. So getting started as a traveler is extremely easy, and there are really only 4 requirements to become a traveler. One is that you have to have graduated from an accredited program. And then 2 is that you have to be licensed in at least one state. Now, you don't have to be licensed in the state you're planning to travel to. You just have to be licensed somewhere in general. You can always get the license that you're wanting to travel to later. 3 is that you have to be in good standing. So you can't be arrested, can't be in jail. You have to be in good standing. And then 4 is that you have to have 0 to 2 years of experience. And why I say that there's this sort of range is because more and more travel assignments, travel facilities, and travel companies or agencies are being more accommodating for new graduates, and they're being more open to hiring new graduates. I'm seeing more and more assignments out there where people and facilities are accepting new graduates and giving them a better orientation, giving them more mentorship. And so more and more, you're going to see that even as a new graduate without any experience, you can travel. Now, the reason why there's that range is because some facilities are stricter than others, and also some settings are stricter than others. So usually outpatient is a little bit more flexible, but acute care, where you're in the hospital dealing with really fragile patients that are, more medically intensive and really just more acute, it can be more dangerous. And so they want more experience so that you are just able to handle yourself in case of emergencies. And also, if you're listening to this and you're a nurse, you always need, I think it's 2 years of experience. You can't travel as a new grad as a nurse. You need to have X amount of experience, and I believe it's 2 years. And also, there's so many different professions. So if you're listening to this and you're not a PT, OT, or speech therapist, then you may also need more experience, or you may also have slightly different requirements. But this is pretty much the norm for a majority of travel healthcare professionals. Okay, so now let's go on to the exact steps to obtain your first travel assignment. So step 1, you somehow have to find a travel company and recruiter. So you can travel on your own and be sort of like an independent company, but it's really difficult. You would somehow have to solicit the hospitals or solicit various places, somehow come up with your own contract, all these different things. So instead, you can go to a travel company, and when you call a travel company, you'll get hooked up with a travel recruiter, and that recruiter will go through your needs, go through your goals as a traveler, and then search for different travel positions for you. What's super, super nice about traveling is that it's very hands-off. The travel company and recruiter do a lot, and you almost just get to sit back, and your biggest thing is just to fill out a little bit of paperwork and do a phone interview. It's very nice. So you have to find a travel company and recruiter. And when you're trying to find a travel company and recruiter, there's several things that you want to look for. You want to look for a company that offers you the benefits that you need. So if you are a family, and you're really needing to have good healthcare benefits, make sure that that travel company offers the appropriate healthcare benefits. If you are a new graduate really focused on trying to pay off your student loans, trying to find a company that has student loan reimbursement is then very important for you. So trying to find a company that fits with your goals and that has the appropriate benefits for your needs is what you want to look for. And then with the recruiter, you want to have a recruiter who is honest, who is open and upfront, who is very, very proactive, who is a good communicator, and who's just basically on top of it. You don't want to have a recruiter where you contact them and you don't hear back in 3 weeks. That's not a good recruiter, because you could be missing out on job opportunities. or that could be very stressful from your end, not knowing what's going on their end. So you want to have a recruiter who's very proactive, and just someone that you can feel comfortable talking to, and that you can feel comfortable, asking questions, because the recruiter is going to be your go-to person. So anytime you have questions, you're going to ask them. Not necessarily clinical questions, but I mean general travel questions. And so they're going to be your go-to person for that. Next, you need to complete the required forms. So luckily, as a traveler, it's very, very easy, and you just have a little bit of paperwork. So you basically need to fill out your personal information, so your name, phone number, address, social security number, for tax identification for payroll, I-9, W-2 form, and then a skills checklist. And that's pretty much about it. And then you have to take a drug test. So you have to pee in the cup. You have to take you need your antigens. So if you haven't gotten your blood drawn, you need to go and get your blood drawn and basically tested for certain antibodies. And then, and then a physical and TB test. And so those are your completed forms and tests. So now that you've done all that and you're in the system for a certain travel company and you have been talking with a travel recruiter, this is where you're going to finalize your job search. And what I mean by that is you're going to sit down with the recruiter and they're going to ask you, okay, what are your goals for traveling? And so this is where a lot of people fail because they are not helpful for the recruiter. Many recruiters are trying their best, but if you don't communicate adequately with them, then they won't know how to properly find you the best settings and the best positions. So this is where, when you're talking to the recruiter and they're about to try to find you positions and apply to positions, you want to be upfront and you want to tell them what settings you want to work in and what settings you don't want to work in. You want to tell them the pay rate that you're looking for, if you want mentorship and orientation, the location or like the radius that you're willing to work in, and the commute time that you're willing to have, and the start date or start range that you're wanting to, when are you wanting to travel? Is it next month? Is it next week? Give them this information. And also, just any other information that you want. If there's any little sort of weird specifics, this is the time to give them that. So they take that information and they plug that into their portal and they start searching. And they're looking for jobs that are applicable to the things that you talked about. And so when they find the positions that come up that are appropriate for you, they'll give you a call or they'll give you a text or they'll email you. And then you have to look at the information provided and see if you're going to apply to those or not. Once again, they do all the applying. You just have to say yes or no. Say apply or don't apply. And really it's up to you. Is it within the desired radius? Is it the right amount if they already have a salary number? Is it the right amount of salary? Is it the right start time? Is it the right setting? And this is another part where people fail, is it's almost like a scarcity factor. People feel like they have to say yes to the very first job. But in traveling, there are tons and tons and tons and tons of jobs all the time. And so, as a new graduate, it may be a little bit tougher and maybe you want to be less picky and say yes to the first one. But once you start on your second or third job, then that's when you can be more and more picky and make sure that you're traveling for the reasons that you want to travel. So simply they send out those applications and apply you to those positions. Now, if after they apply you to those positions, one of those positions wants to interview you, then you go through an interview. So here's the nice, great thing is that literally you could be interviewing in your pajamas because it's a phone interview, which I love. So you don't have to get your hair done. You don't have to get your makeup done. You get to sit on the edge of your bed and have about a 15 or 20 minute interview. And in this interview, this is extremely, extremely important because this interview is not just about, are you right for them? Are you right for that travel assignment? But it's also about, is that travel assignment right for you? And so in the interview, you want to really make sure that you're asking the questions that your recruiter wasn't able to answer. So more of the really clinical questions like what's your productivity? What type of mentorship do you offer? Is there an orientation, and how long is that orientation? And sort of what does that orientation entail? Does it entail me shadowing someone for a week? Or does it entail me, just going and starting from day one? What is that start period like? And then in the interview, you could also ask questions like, have you had any other travelers before? And usually if they say yes, that's a good sign, because if they've had other travelers, they know how to treat travelers and they know the protocol for travelers. And often that can be a little bit smoother than facilities that haven't had travelers before. And just any other questions you have, what are your employees like about working there? What are the reasons to work there? What are the population like? Different things like that. Get your feel clinically and productivity wise. So if the interview goes well, then basically the facility will create an offer and the recruiter will provide that offer to you. And you simply say, yes, I confirm the offer, or no, I don't want the offer. And so if you say yes to confirm the offer, then your recruiter will create a contract, look over that contract, make sure that everything's included in that contract, and then you can sign that. Now, if you say no to that, then simply your recruiter goes back to finding positions for you and applying you to new positions. Now, what a lot of people don't realize about traveling is that you can ask your recruiter to specifically search for a place. So when I was traveling, I really wanted to travel back home to my home in California. And so I asked my recruiter to look for places in my hometown. And it took her a while to find that. And I actually had to use another company because of various things. She was out and didn't get back to me. And the person covering actually said that they didn't have any jobs. Sort of a long story. But so if you want to find a certain place, give your travel company extra time. And they will actually go out and they will actually pursue other positions that are in the place that you're wanting to try to help you find that travel job. Okay, so the steps in a review is that you want to research travel companies and try to pick a travel company that aligns with your goals, aligns with your needs, both financially and also like with retirement benefits, healthcare benefits, continuing education benefits, student loan reimbursement benefits. You want to secure a recruiter. So when you contact the travel company, you will get a recruiter. If you don't like that recruiter, you can get a new recruiter, but you're going to get paired with a recruiter. You want to complete the application that the recruiter gives you. Like I said, it's only a little bit, takes, a day or so to complete the paperwork and maybe a couple days to do the TB test, the physical blood test, and the drug screen. You want to finalize your job search with your recruiter and have them send out 4 jobs for you. Then you want to interview 4 positions and then confirm and negotiate your contract if you get that position, and then simply start working. Now, as a traveler, once you travel for a little bit and you finish your first contract, you can do 2 things. You can either renew or you can change contract. What I mean by that is, so renew means that you sign on again at your same facility, at your same assignment, and that has to be both a need on their end and a desire on your end to continue working there. And if you don't want to do that, then you simply start a new contract and you talk to your company and you go and you start looking for new facilities to apply to. It's very simple. And also I want to add here too that at this point, if you are for some reason unhappy with your travel company, you can also switch travel companies. You are not contracted really with the travel company, meaning you can always go away from them. But the contract is between the travel company, you, and the facility for those 13 weeks. Once those 13 weeks are done, then you can break free and go somewhere else. Now you can break your contract early. Say if there was maybe a death in the family, serious injury to yourself, something like that, you could stop the contract early. This is not really looked good upon, though. It's sort of frowned upon because, it's just a lack of professionalism. So you want to try to maintain your contract and stay in your contract up until the dates and that looks good for you, but you can always end that contract early too. Sometimes there's penalties though. You may lose certain bonuses, so just be aware of that. Okay, so I get this question all the time: can new graduates travel? And I think you're probably getting the hint that yes, they can, but yes, they can. New graduates are actually in a great position to travel, really for a variety of reasons. New graduates, you don't often have a family tying you down to a certain location. So you're so much more flexible with the assignments that you can choose and the settings that you can choose. That makes traveling a lot easier. I think the difficulty about traveling often is the fact that there's sometimes select assignments available in X location. So if you're living somewhere and you need to travel only within a certain radius every single, day of the year, that could be really, really difficult. But if you're a new graduate and you don't have any ties and you can go wherever, it's much, much easier. I also think that it's easier for new graduates to travel as well, because they aren't already settled into a permanent position. Sometimes there's a lot of guilt leaving a permanent position, and so new graduates, they're looking for the new position. They're looking for something. And new graduates, it's also in a great position because you're eager to learn. And so with traveling, you can get that knowledge base that I talked about in the first section. You can get tons and tons of experience and just soak that all up so that you can become an amazing healthcare professional in 10 times faster than someone in a regular permanent setting would be. So yes, you can totally do that. It's also great for finding your ideal setting. We talked about that in a little bit of the first section, but figuring out what you really want in a permanent position. When I first graduated, I was someone who didn't really love any particular setting. I wasn't a definite outpatient person. And so that was tough, not knowing what to do. And so traveling was great because I could sort of figure out, okay, this is the populations that I like to work in. Building your career, we talked about that, the experience level, but also in the negotiation and resume building perspective. As a traveler, you're working in level 1 trauma centers, you're working maybe as a director, you're leading units and things like that. And so really, you're building your career and building your resume. And when you exit traveling, if you want to exit traveling, you're really going to have an amazing resume and really an amazing platform to negotiate. I think, in my opinion, and actually from personal experience, I've been able to earn, thousands more dollars, I feel, because of traveling, because it put me at a higher pay bracket, and then I was able to negotiate that going into my next jobs. It also is a great way to find adventure. We talked about that, traveling all around the nation. And then lastly, it's a great way to pay off your student loans. So to pay off your student loans, I wish there was an easier way, but really the best way is to earn more money. And so if you earn more money, you can funnel way more money into your student loans, limiting the amount of interest that accrues, limiting the time it takes to pay off your student loans because you have so much money going there. And it also enables you to pay off your student loans while having a great lifestyle. And so that's why I really talk so much about traveling, because it's really this amazing career route. Okay, so how can travel therapy pay off your student loans? So I want to go into some numbers here. And I think numbers will really help you visually understand it. So you have great pay, you have adventure, and you really have no sacrifice. And that's why I think traveling to pay off your student loans is really, really a great route. So let's look at some numbers here. So we have after taxes. If you earned $1,500 a week times 52 weeks, you would earn $78,000 after taxes. Now, yes, 52 weeks, that means you're working all the time, but, it's just examples. Now, after taxes, if you earn $2,000 a week times 52, that is $104,000. So that's the range potentially you have to work in as a traveler. I mean, as a PT, even as a new graduate, I wouldn't really take lower than $1,500. And so you're at least making $78,000 after taxes. Now, this is after taxes. You want to probably add in maybe between $10,000 to $15,000, maybe more, to this number, depending upon your retirement contributions and that. And that's what you would be getting pre-taxed. in a normal setting. So just think about that, how as a new graduate you could basically be making over $80,000 and potentially even $100,000. That's pretty amazing. So let's compare this to a permanent position. So in a permanent position, oftentimes between like a new graduate to 3 years out, you're earning around $70,000, and that's before taxes. Now, I plugged that in to a tax calculator, and that gave me $52,000. So that's what I'm earning after taxes in a permanent position, is only $52,000. That means that even at the lowest rate of $1,500 a week for traveling as a physical therapist, you are still earning $26,000 more than a permanent position. As a permanent position, if you earned $70,000, which is sometimes higher than what a lot of new grads and 1 to 2 years out graduates get, if you're just working in a permanent position, you are earning $26,000 less. Now, these are estimates. I can't promise anything, but that's just visualizing. So even at the lowest pay rate for travelers after taxes, you're still earning $26,000 more. So now here's the cool thing. So say you have a $100,000 loan. We just said that you are going to earn $26,000 more a year based off of that $1,500 a week after taxes. That means that if you chose traveling over any other route based on a $100,000 loan, you are paying off your loan 26 times faster. That's amazing. Now, add in bonuses, add in the fact that you're not having to pay continuing education, add in the fact that your license gets reimbursed, add in the fact that you're getting CPR reimbursement, add in other perks that often come, and that's even better. And also, many times there are, I know one company as well, right now as a traveler, that pays you $2,000 extra per contract, in addition to a standard travel healthcare contract for student loans. And so with this, just think about that. If you add that, then now you're paying off 20% faster than any other travel company with that extra $2,000 a contract. So it's really a great way, traveling is really a great way to pay off your student loans, in my opinion. So what I want to tell you next is that I have a couple things if you are interested. You don't have to say yes. I will keep doing these tutorials and try to share as much information as possible with you. But if you are inspired to travel, then I do want to tell you that I've tried my best to help out as much as possible and to make this journey to becoming a travel physical therapist as easy as possible. And so what you can do is, if you're interested in traveling, you can go to debtfreept.com and sign up for my travel mentorship. And that includes, I have a free online course, and that includes that. And it also includes basically connections to top recruiters, like the recruiters I talked about that give you extra money towards student loans. And so that's something to think about if you're interested. So that's pretty much it for this travel physical therapy course. I'm still learning how to use and do screen shares and everything, so I apologize if anything was a little bit crazy. Also, I wanted to share with you guys really fast that if you go to debtfreept.com/loans, I will give you my free travel healthcare course. So it's called debtfreept.com/loans, and basically I have created a course on how to pay off your student loan debt. And I use a lot of the things that we talked about in here, plus I have a bunch of other strategies for extra income, for extra savings, for how to save thousands of dollars while on your journey to becoming debt-free. And so if you get my debt-free course, debtfreept.com/loans, you also get my free travel healthcare course, and I have a whole Facebook Live video session that I'm doing in a special group, private group, just for the course purchasers, where I'm going through every single section of the course answering your questions, and I'm doing a special launch, and so everyone will get phone calls with me, making sure that they're really, really successful on their journey to debt freedom. And so if you're interested, check that out, debtfreepedia.com/loans, and I'll see you guys later. Now I gotta figure out how to end this. Oopsies. The end.